if you're a Photoshop Elements user, this is a feature you absolutely have to see. It's in the new version of Photoshop Elements. So Photoshop Elements 11, it comes with the selection technology that people have loved for years now inside of Photoshop, inside of the full version of Photoshop. It's called Refine Edge. I want to show you how to use it here because it takes selections inside of Elements and it takes them to that whole next level. If you've ever had trouble selecting an element, and trust me, if you've tried selections, like complex selections on Elements, chances are you have had trouble. This just takes it to a whole different area. So here's how it works. We start out by kind of quickly defining what we want to select. Okay, so let's say I want to select her off of her background. So I'll always just go grab the quick selection tool right over here in the toolbox, and I'll do a very quick loose selection. Okay, so I'm not trying to select perfectly. I know that I'm missing part of it. Now, you see what happened over here? You see how it jumped and it took too much of the image? If you hold down the Option key on Mac, Alt on PC, and you start to click, it starts to paint away. Okay, so this by no means is a good selection, but it's a start. And as far as the Refine Edge tool goes, this is really all you need to get going. Okay, so now what we're going to do here is, if you look down here in Elements, it's in Elements 11, it's different. We used to go up to the top to the options bar. Now everything is down here at the bottom when it comes to our tools. So what we're going to do here is click on Refine Edge. It's going to open up the Refine Edge dialog box. There's not too much of this dialog box that you have to worry about. We'll walk through it really quick, but there's only a couple settings that you're going to find that you use. First, under View, change this to the background that kind of suits what you're going to be looking at. Okay, so in this case, I know I'm going to probably put her on a pretty bright background, so I'll keep it white. If you thought you were going to put her on a dark background, you could change it to black. There's also this overlay option, which kind of puts a little red tint on things. You could see it just like a black and white mask. You could see it with transparency behind it. So there's a lot of different options here. I'm going to keep it on. I usually keep it on white or black, depending on what color or mood of background I think I'm going to put them on. Okay. Next one, radius. This is probably the key here. Now, radius, what it does, I'm going to crank it up. I want to show you. See, just take a look here. Let's show the original right up at the top here. That's before. That's after. Look at the hair. Before, bad. After, really good. So radius looks within whatever this setting is, like 47 pixels, okay? It looks within 47 pixels of the edge of the selection that you got, and it starts to look for areas to select here, okay? So that's generally a good thing. Here's where it falls apart. When you have a straight edge selection, like her shirt down here, well, you notice the higher that radius gets, you see how it starts to fade and starts to go away. So that's the trade-off in all this, is that the lower radius setting you use, well, the hair doesn't look as good, but it keeps those straight edge selections looking really good. The higher it goes, these go away, and the hair starts to look really good. So here's what you do. Here's how you kind of get in the middle. Is I'll raise this to the point where I think, all right, this is about as far as I can go on these edges over here. And then if you look over on the left-hand side, there's a brush tool. It's called the Refine Radius brush. It's automatically selected. You don't have to do anything to select it. It's automatically selected. You can use your right and left bracket keys to make it larger or smaller. You can see the size is changing here. And then what you do is you just click and paint on the areas you want to fix. So we knew that when I crank up the radius, this all gets better over here. But when I crank it down, not good, right? Well, I'm just going to paint. Watch what happens. See that? So Elements goes in there, and it takes care of it for me. Go right along the edge of the hat here. Just like that. Check this out over here. Watch. We're missing hair. I'm going to paint. It's bringing back some of the green, but it gets rid of it eventually. Okay. And get some of this. Now, there's a strand of hair that I know is over here. So I'm just going to paint, and it just brings it back in, just like that. It's an amazing tool. It's amazing to see where the technology has gone, because it makes selection so much easier now. Okay, now when we're done, especially in this case here, let's go ahead and let's switch this maybe to a black. If I zoom in, you're going to see, see how it's got a little green type of a tint to it? Well, we can help that because that's part of the background left over. If you click on Decontaminate Colors and then you take this slider and you crank it way up, it starts to take away some of that color fringing that we had over here. So it gets rid of it so we don't have that little green background that we had going along the edges of that. And that's pretty common. Just to pull, it pulls a little bit of color from whatever background you were in. So it's very common that we have to go in there and just, they call it decontaminate, but you're just really removing the color fringe that goes around your image here. Okay, now when it comes to output, you get a couple of choices. You can do a new layer. You can output to a selection. I always do new layer with a layer mask. And I'm going to click OK. You'll see why that's a good one here in a second. So take a look at what it does. It hides my background layer. And it gives me a brand new layer up here. And it puts a layer mask along with it. So I could always go in and edit this if I wanted to. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to select all. And I'm just going to go to Edit Copy. I'm going to open up a different photo here. And I'll just go to Edit Paste. Of course, my select all didn't work here. That's because I didn't take the mask. So let's try this one more time. We'll go to our move tool. I'll just click and drag it and just hover over that other image that I had open and it brings it over here. So now it's brought it over here and it brought it over with the layer mask attached to it. So I could still always change this if I want, but I want you to look at the detail that goes around this. Look at her hat. See all the little fuzzy stuff off of her hat? I mean, it's all still there. We don't have that green fringe, and we have all these little mini strands of hair that are just coming off of here that we basically just brushed over to select. So it's pretty crazy in what it does. Now, there's one last key to this that has nothing to do with selections, but it's something that whenever you put someone into a different background, you should at least consider, and that is, she has a warm type of a color to her. And if you look at the background, it's kind of cool. Well, if you go up here, there's something called the photo filter, okay? And we can warm and cool people and things with this. We don't want to warm her, but if I change this to a cooling filter, see how it makes everything, let's kind of move this over a little bit. See how it makes everything in the photo blue? Well, if I just click this little icon right here, it forces this photo filter layer to only affect the portrait right below. So now it's just making her blue. It's not making the background blue. And I don't want to do it a lot. I just want to increase this a little bit. It's one of those things. It's really picky. You're not going to always see it, but it's those little things that kind of help. It's almost impossible to see when you're looking at it in a video. It's like the kind of thing you have to watch yourself and you have to do it yourself because that's when you really get a feel for it. But that's before the blue filter. That's after. It's a slight difference, but it's differences that our eyes tend to pick up on. So depending on the background you place a person over, you might have to cool them down to make them fit the background, or you might have to warm them to make them fit into that background. It really just depends on what you're doing inside of there. Okay, folks, hope you enjoyed. My name is Matt Klaskowski, and I will talk to you again very, very soon.